69 on the first paragraph of page 69. It goes, we reviewed our own conduct over the years past. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault? What should we have done? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. In this way, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjugated each relations to the test. Was it selfish or not? We asked God to mold our ideals and help us to live up to them. We remembered that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. Whatever our ideals turned out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we had done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. All right, hopefully that gets you started on talking about something. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Mike. Paul, alcoholic. Nice to see everybody. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is the instructions for the sexual, the sex instinct part of the inventory. Yeah. And the sex inventory is a little different than the resentment and fear, is because there's almost sort of like a fifth column, which is what could I have done instead, you know, after you looked at what happened, and then giving you information, negative and positive, of what you'd like to grow towards as an ideal. And obviously it's larger just than the sex relations. It becomes a principle in all your relations. Yes. So it's a pretty clear instruction. You're at the page, you're going to do the inventory. You put the person or the people that you harmed pursuing that sexual agenda, let's say. Yeah. And a lot of times it isn't just with the person who you had sex with. It's like the mother or the father or the kids. Yes. And your kids and your wife and stuff. Yeah. So you look at sort of the collateral damage in your instinctual drive to get what you want. Now, in my experience with the sex inventory, it was cool when I did it. It showed me that most of my outlandish behavior concerning sex was really searching for self-esteem. Yeah, and that was pretty eye-opening, because obviously what I was, based on all the shit I was doing, I wasn't feeling too good about myself. And one of the ways I did feel better about myself is if a very pretty woman would go horizontal with me, so to speak. Yes, that would give me, oh, I must be okay if she's, allowing me to hang out with her. But then, after 4 days or something, I would see she had a beauty mark on her left cheek, and then something would trigger it, and she wasn't a sufficient enough source to get the self-esteem. So I'd have to be going out there again. Yeah. So basically what drove me into in the sexual behavior was really seeking self-esteem. I was trying to sort of throw a little add to the debit I was creating, so to speak, every day. It was a losing proposition, but it's almost as if you're trying to run a giant wave. You're going to lose. It's going to catch up with you. So that was pretty cool. So the inventory, and then with all the information there, I could come up with a new ideal of how I would like to be concerning my relations to other people. Yes. And so, and then the thing is the willingness to grow towards that. And you ask that higher power to help you, as we do in all the situations in recovery. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty clear description of the mechanics of the inventory. The thing is, if you do it when you share it with someone else, obviously, one of the great aspects of doing an inventory is it produces an answers that's not yours. Yeah. So when you do the inventory, you see a situation in a different light, and usually that different light is much clearer than the old light. So yeah. So the sexual instinct inventory has the 4 columns like the others done, based on looking at what happened or what you feel is going to happen, or what did happen long time ago as it affects the instinctual agenda, premised on that self is running the instinctual agenda. Yeah. And it's funny, if you do an inventory and the manifestations of self, the common ones are resentment, fear, harming other people in the pursuit of what we want, you'll notice that whatever the head takes to be important, its manifestations are there. Yeah. It's a pretty good way of recognizing the tree from the fruit. You see that, my self-image, I'm not willing to surrender and turn over. So there'll be a lot of concern and anxiety and resentment for how you're thinking other people are viewing you and all this. Yeah. You got to put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. And then you start seeing truly through the manifestations of self, doing the inventories, what has defeated you and what could be defeating you right now. Yeah? And hopefully you finally see it as other than you. Yeah. Because how are you going to be free as it? That hasn't worked. Yeah. Maybe the freedom is from it. And I don't see how you can see yourself distinctly different than something if you keep calling it you. I just don't, it doesn't work. So there's got to be a point where maybe how I first got the inkling of that was entertaining alcoholism and my behavior as a disease-oriented behavior. Yeah. And that brought some relief. It really did. Yeah. It brought about, I wasn't so much in a state of punishing myself all the time when I got sober, because I saw basically what I did to people, I would have done to anyone unless you could physically stop me. Yeah. And so these things started to bring a little bit of space. And that space allowed me to see what was inhabiting the space, which is self. Yeah. When you're obsessed with self, the space is full of it. When you get some space, you see it. Yeah. So I saw what I'm not and how it defeated me by doing the inventory and sharing it in the 5th step. And then what I saw and continue to see, because now it wasn't a particular manifestation so much, it was the pattern of manifestation. Yeah. I started to see the pattern of how self defeated me. Instead of being obsessed with the particular event and, and putting all my attention on the moving parts, I saw the pattern. So it wasn't Sheila, Bill, Jill, and Joe. I saw the role self had in all the defeats. Yeah. And where did that lead me to? It led me to the possibility I could be free from it. Yeah. And so it's been. Yeah. I mean, this isn't like the principle in my field, in this experience has been completely convinced. Yeah. I'm not in the act of becoming or entering into the belief that self is foreign to me. I'm convinced self is foreign to me. I am completely. Yeah. And it's been that state for quite a while. And I believe a lot of what's available to me today is based on that. I do. I can, it's not a very zigzag line. Yeah. It's very clear. The recognition as self, that which is defeating me as foreign, allowed a diminishing of the defeat. Yeah. Plain and simple. And that's the whole premise of this platform. Yeah. We're not taking out the magnifying glass and looking at every comment or period in every sentence of the book. We're trying to get to the meat of it, which is what's the exact nature of the wrong. Yeah. And we're humbly putting out that it's the act of being identified as self. Now, when people hear that, they now believe they're doing that act of being identified as self. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the mental state is premising its whole delivery to us as you're in the act of being identified as self already. Yeah. I'm not doing it. I'm seeing it. Yeah. I am not doing the act of being identified as self. I'm seeing it. I'm aware of it. Yeah. And when I'm aware of it, I don't see me in there doing it. I don't see any of me doing anything in there. I see the mental state where the problem resides is in the act of being identified as self. That's its condition. I do not believe that condition is going to get out of that condition. I don't. I do not believe self with tons of knowledge is going to get out of self. I don't. I think the knowledge can become self-knowledge, which avails us nothing. Yeah. So I am not identified as self by me. I'm identified as self by the mental state. I am not identified as self by me. I'm identified as self by the mental state. The problem resides in the mind. It does not reside in us. Yeah. If you're religiously devout to the head, the reason and the thinking, you are going to be a disciple of the act of being identified as self. To the point when nothing is fucking working, you're still going to try to get out of it as it. Yeah. And it's going to fail. And that's its value, hopefully. You finally realize the horse you're trying to rely on to get to where you want to go is dead. Yeah, dead. It's finished, kaput. Whatever life you breathed into it, it's been exhausted. Yeah, you've recognized you're fucked and you're now moving on. Yeah. So this is the trick, because we believe we're the doer of a lot of stuff we don't do. And when we get information about the exact nature wrong, we again believe we're the doing of it. And who wants to see any more information of us being the doer of shit we don't want to do? Yes, I've had enough illumination. Self can't take it anymore. And it doesn't want to. It really doesn't. It doesn't want to see any more about itself. You have to see it. You, I. Yes? It's gotten friendly with the solution. Yes. If it didn't want to, it put it off for years, but when push came to shove and there was nothing else to do, hey, it started to sleep with the solution. It did. Yeah. It's comfy. It's still activating the bondage of self. It's all right. So it's not as flamboyant as it used to be. You know, it's sort of like a rock star who's in their 70s, you know, probably not going to go on tour and have all the babes rushing the stage. Okay, I'll put up with that, but I'm just gonna bind you. Yeah. If you can reach 12 feet, you only reach 8 feet. Yeah, you're just going to be bound by the bondage of self. The solution does not lie in self. I'll tell you, I don't believe it. There's no way. You can talk to, you're blue in your face to it. This is losing interest in it. Just like it says in the big book of AA, around page 63. We lose interest in self. Now, who is that we? It can't be self. Yeah. When it says, will we lose interest in self? I think it says that. Let me make sure for the, I don't want to miss a word. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Oh, less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. Yeah. So who is that that's less interested in ourselves? Who are they talking to? Is it a self? So self is losing interest in self? No. We're something other than self. How can you, if you're the source of interest, how can you gain interest in it? Yeah, you're the source of the interest. So we lose interest in self. Self doesn't, we do. We, what we are. Yeah. There's no describing what we are, but you can describe what you're not. Yeah. And that's why the inventory helps you to describe what has defeated you, because it has not been you. I do not believe you defeat you. I don't. In this play of this story, it can look like that. In the theater of self, self sometimes acts out like it defeats itself. Yeah. But you, no. Yeah. So this is the premise. I didn't hear it in these years of AA. I didn't. That's why we've presented it. Yeah. I'm not trying to put like, a mustache on an orange. Yeah. There's tons of oranges out there. We're attempting to present something that doesn't seem to be readily flowing around here. Yeah. And from a humble recognition of traveling lighter for so long, I have a great confidence in the message. Yeah. Because it works. Yeah. Yeah. And you'll feel the loss of interest in self, not as self. Self will say it. Oh, I'm losing interest in myself. No, you'll lose interest in self. Yeah. It will claim it and say, I'm losing interest in myself. No, you, what we are, loses interest in what we're not. Truly. Because right now there's way too much interest in what we're not, and it seems to be sufficient to seemingly allow us to forget what we are. Yeah. Forget what I am. Yeah. Seemingly. It appears to be true. It isn't. It never will be, but it can look like it is. Yeah. When you're under the spell of self. Yeah. And I think the spell of self is responding as if it's a report when it says all the time it's in the act of being identified as self, you have a feeling that it's you. Yes. That's a feeling. Feelings are not facts. Yeah. Right underneath that feeling is the sense of I am. And that doesn't have a name called Paul or Nina or anyone else. It's I am. It's where we're joined at the mystical hip. Yes, all of us. Yeah. So that's the point for me. Because I'll tell you, if you're following the stream, the most water would be probably be at the source. Yes, the source. So why not go there? Get to the exact nature of the wrong. Do an inventory, 5 minutes. Instead of looking at them as my resentments, look at them as a resentment. Yeah. This is not about you're going to have a resentment-free life. No, but you'll be free of resentment. Yes. The head will see things and will provoke a resentment. You'll be free of that resentment because you won't call it yours. That's the freedom. The freedom is not nothing happens. I'm in la la land, no anxiety, no false evidence being presented as real. That continues, but you lose interest in it. Yeah. So instead of getting sucked into that screen of information and narration, you're seeing a bigger picture, which actually puts a right sizeness on that screen. Yeah. It can't do it itself, but it can be reduced. Yeah. When we lose interest in it, it gets reduced. Now, the craziness may stay up here. It won't be tattooing your life by compelling action anymore. Yes. And after a while, the craziness has comedic value. It's sort of hilarious, really. It is. It just doesn't get it. And it's never going to get it. It doesn't have the possibility of it. Yeah. It sees everything filled with itself. That's what it does. It's all about you. It's not what recovers. We recover from it. It does not recover. We recover from it. Yeah. This is not a self-rehab. It's you know what it is? It's sort of like that. And we've surrendered to harm reduction because it's obvious this ain't gonna fucking work. So let's lower our sights and just, I'm not fucking up like I used to. Okay, there you go. I mean, Jesus, what a win. Yeah. My last jail stay was only 3 days instead of 7 days. Progress. Yeah. Yes, but hey, this isn't about self getting free. It's about freedom from it. Yeah. That implies there's a you know, that seems to be identified with shit you can see. I would say the unseen aspect of us is what we are. And the seeming seen presentation of us is what we're not. Yeah. It would be nice if that weight got shifted a little with a little more interest in what you are and a little less interest in what you're not. And we have come to a very clear conclusion. Self can't produce that effect. Because if self tries to lose interest in self, it's interest in self. You can't get it. If that which is playing God vows to quit playing God, that's playing God. You can't, it doesn't work. Yeah. It's not personal. It just doesn't work. So here you go. There's a solution. Yeah. All right, Mike. Thanks. Thanks for letting me rant. Yeah.
No, of course, Paul. You make things so clear to me anyway, because my head confuses this stuff. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff to do.
And it will. It's going to. See, that's the point. This isn't about watching its rehabilitation. It isn't. You recognize it's incapable of truly rehabilitating. It's a failed system. Yeah. It wasn't because of you, Michael, that it became failed. It's a failed system. It's not reliable. Yes. It has nothing to do with you. Yeah. You're not the main ingredient of the failed system. To the failed system, you are the main ingredient. You what gives it the ability to produce effects and shine light on its little fucking play. Yeah. You are essential. Yeah. But you are not doing what it says you're doing. Yes. The freedom isn't like what you think, because people are going to get very disappointed when they have a blissful 6 hours and then the head kicks in again. Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're going to be, because there's a misunderstanding. They believe they've had a sufficient enough experience never to do what self does again. And yet self keeps doing it because it's not you. Yeah. Your recovery is not self's recovery. You're recovering from self. It's different completely. It's very different. Yeah. So you see the futility of trying to turn a Toyota into a Rolls Royce. It doesn't work. Okay, great. So you finally admit, I'm never going to be a Rolls Royce. Thank God. Yeah, fantastic. You'll do a lot better being a Toyota. Who leaves their Rolls Royce out in the rain? Then you got to have a garage. Then you got to have the right size of the garage. Da, 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 da. Toyota, fuck it. Just put gas in, oil, goes. I had a Toyota pickup. I couldn't kill it. I couldn't. Got over 300 something thousand. Could not kill the thing. Yeah. It just kept going. Yeah. So I'm so happy to be here, and you're going to feel it the way you're going to feel it. I'm saying it the way this is said from here, but you're going to feel it the way you feel it. And you're going to get used to feeling the freedom from self. You're going to recognize it. Yeah. Yeah. And what can stop it, really? Self can't. It has to have you in its glove to do anything. If you are removed, self is just, it doesn't have the power it once had, because it would never had the power. It was your power being given over to it. Now the higher power is reclaiming it and putting it somewhere else. And now you're going to be the benefit, and others are going to be the benefit. Yeah. It's a win-win. It's not a win-lose thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Mike. Thanks.
So when I went through this exercise and I did the 5 little resentments, and I shared them, and I was asked, so who is that I behind there? And I'll admit, not that I didn't understand the question, but I didn't get anywhere with that, And
Yes.
then my 3-hour ride home, it dawned on me that there's nothing, it didn't produce anything because there's nothing there.
There you go. Yes.
And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I had a great ride home.
Yes. This is what happens. You don't step out as the mental object. You step out from the mental object. And now you see things differently. Yeah. And it triggers a knowing that's always been there, like an unsuspecting inner resource. And then hopefully that knowing starts compelling actions to refeed it. Yeah. It seeks water and other things differently than the other fucking insatiable appetite of selfing, which is, usually driven by obsessing over shit that's not happening. Yeah. This gets fed in other ways. It's sort of like with service. Yeah. You leave the orbit of self, and then you get fed in that space of availability and presence. Yes. And it starts having an impact after a while. And now, instead of, answering the cell's bell to food, because you're always fucking empty seemingly after it, you're actually getting nourished by your experiences. Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful, really, because we're starving in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are. The action figure to drive well, like the Toyota oil, gas, transmission fluid, but action figures need a sense of purpose, most of them. They need a feeling of connection. They need to feel like they belong. And this is, we get from the community of recovery. You get all of those needs, not even really vaguely understood, fulfilled. And then you feel it and you go, wow, I didn't know I felt that alone. Yes, because the head was denying tons of shit. Now you don't need all that denial. Yeah. And you can just judge the fucking tree by the fruit. Yeah. So I remember it was like being thought out when I started going to AA. I was so fucking frozen. Yeah. None of my needs were being met. It was just a mental fucking orgy. Yeah. It was like Paul doing Dallas and being done by Dallas. It was just unbelievable. And I was just fucking, all I needed was a nice hello from someone. Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. So we were starved. And when we wrote out our list, when we gave it to the self to shop for us, and it got us the same shit over and over again. It's described very well in Tibetan Buddhism. It pictures selfing, or that urge or drive as a huge character with a very huge belly, but a small mouth. They call it the hungry ghost. It can never get fucking enough. Yeah. Addiction is in many forms. It's not just the surface level of doing drugs and or eating too much. There's so much underlying it. Yeah. And that's the real addiction, which is the head's addiction to self. That's the fucking super wide river. And then where it's sort of dealing with currents on the surface, like active drug addiction and shit, thinking, oh, but really, yeah. I really believe the original addiction is the mental state's addiction to this idea of being self. I do. And it's really advanced to the point we think we are self. It's sort of like me doing so much coke to a point that I started thinking I was cocaine. And I did tons of coke. I never even got close to that condition. I feel we start from there. I'll tell you the truth. I think many of us start from, we're identified with the drug. We're not, but there's an identification with the drug. We're living as if we're cocaine. And then we try to do all this shit to get relief from cocaine as cocaine, where the real relief is you're not cocaine. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. Chris, you have your hand up. Would you like to ask Paul a question? You have share.
Hey, hi everyone. Hey Paul. Where's Paul?
Right here, I think.
Oh, there you are.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to thank you for these satsangs. They've made a big difference in my quote unquote life.
Okay.
It's just been a general lightening of everything. I've never been like a quote unquote spiritual person. I've never been to any other satsang other than this. I've never gone on meditation retreats. I kind of have probably an overreaction to any kind of that kind of like stagecraft. And when people talk really slowly, but I just had this experience the other day. I'm only saying all that so that you know I had this experience when I woke up. I was dreaming. In my dream, I was looking at myself, my body, myself. And I woke up and had such complete certainty that that wasn't me. Like it was absolute certainty that all of the qualities that that person has are not qualities of me. I can't say it was, I want to say it was like I was looking at another person, but it wasn't, because it was me. It was very strange. And so lately I've noticed, I just had to make a big decision in my life Sunday. And normally I would be crazy about it for days. I would be writing in my journal. I'd be freaking out. And this was just like, I'm going to make it was more like the decision's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen. Something in me is going to make this decision. So it's just going to happen. And it actually doesn't really matter at all what it is, because I have no idea which decision would really be better. But I know what's really bad is stewing over it forever. So this decision just kind of happened. Some good things fell from it. And I've never really cruised through a life change like that before. So not really a question, but just a big thank you.
Well, thank you, bro. And that's described right in the third step area where it says you will learn that you can face life successfully. So there you go. Life sometimes has a lot to do with decisions. So you now learned you can face life successfully. So an old pattern is being reversed and a new pattern is being grooved. Yeah. This is this is a program of recovery.
The fear of making the wrong decision becomes its own entire nightmarish story.
Well, the head uses it as a platform for obsession with self a lot of the time. So the importance, not to underplay the importance of a decision in one's life, but because there's that vibe of importance, the self claims it and really can run away with it. And then just use that importance to just verify more obsession with self. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I look,
Looking around like it's looking for opportunities all the time. Once it gets like it's like fishing, and you get, that's a big marlin, man. It gets into it. It gets into it big time. Yeah. And then because see, if you look at the activity in a pattern, the obsessions with self are a way of reinforcing the identification as self. Yeah. And because you're not self, the head has to constantly be looking for opportunities to reinforce the identification, because there's a real fear in it that it's going to lose you. And so it uses an obsession over these things because it's not the thing that you're obsessing over, it's you. It looks like the way it's presented, oh, I'm obsessing over this decision, but it's really you that's being obsessed over. Yeah.
yeah,
Because you're not obsessing over my decisions unless they have any seeming effect on you. So it's you, really. And so it's just nice to start recognizing what's actually happening.
I saw
Yeah.
through it, and I don't want to use other people's words, but the best way I could describe it is, part of me is like, well, who are you? Who am I worrying about? Who am I trying to keep safe and protect? And I realized what I was trying to keep safe was a story.
Yes. All right. That's awesome, bro.
This would be a bad event in the story. And so, you know what I mean?
That's going to go a long, long way.
Yeah, I saw right through that.
Yeah, it's great. That's
But it is relentless, because the head just comes back and goes, yeah, you're not getting off that easily. You
yes,
can't live
it's
without.
relentless in a certain field, but you have a relentlessness that something that's always there can only have, and that's you.
Yeah.
So you are truly relentless. Self seems to be relentless because it's trying to catch up, which it can never override. Because
Yeah.
there are so many times when you get exhausted, it's just here all the time, here. No matter how far you think you went, you always go back to here. Yeah. And to me, that's the greater force. Yeah. So talk about relentless. It never stops.
It's just so taken for
never
granted.
changes pressure, so you don't even know it. Yeah, that's truly relentless. So to be on that relentless side, you're going to win out on the other relentless side. Yes. Yeah.
It's just so taken for granted.
Well, a lot of times the best we can do is just don't do anything. Don't, just chill out, because things, this too shall pass. That's one of the greatest statements in our community. Yeah. If you don't, stick your fucking finger in the mix, the pie's gonna come out of the oven. It's gonna show up sooner or later.
That
Yeah.
and the give unto Caesar thing. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, sometimes I need to have a chocolate milk and eat a box of Cheez-Its. Just
Yeah,
what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
a
mean,
spiritual, I'm not an enlightened being. I need salt.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. See, again, the head triggers, through right and wrong, the head triggers a lot of fucking obsession.
Yeah. I shouldn't be having these cravings if I'm.
I know. It's only you that having these cravings.
It's like
Other
it's hard.
people, but me, I'm called to a higher purpose. It's just obsessing with self.
It really is.
If you could really get a sense that no one in my neighborhood is looking at me through some fucking binoculars, they could care less what's happening at 828 Wilmac Avenue. They have less interest in even me, less interest. So you're roaming around looking at leaves. It's not a big, the whole the whole axis of the universe isn't depending on it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really amazing.
Yeah. So it's amazing when you start seeing the layers or the flavors of self-obsession. A lot of them you didn't think that was self-obsession.
Yeah,
Yeah, you start recognizing a lot more.
yeah, and it's funny. It's humorous. It's like a character in a TV show that is
And
one-dimensional.
whatever, you better, if
No.
you're waiting for other people to amuse you, you're going to be waiting too long, baby. You got to start becoming your own source of amusement.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
I don't crack jokes for Amelia. I do it. Yeah, I'm the audience. I just she's so over my meanderings. She just doesn't want to follow me through my little thing, but she just, I
It
enjoy it.
reminds me, there's this old Russian fairy tale where this husband and wife are arguing about something. The husband says it's one and the wife says it's two. No, it's one. No, it's two. They argue, they're fighting. They're out on the ice. They're still fighting. The wife falls to the ice and she's drowning. And the last thing she does is sticks her hand up with two fingers, just to be like, that's still the most important thing, even
Yeah,
though she's about to die. And that's what's funny about these voices. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like a record and it's like a loop. It's just,
yes,
it doesn't
yeah,
matter what's happening.
yes. That's why if you see the pattern in the beginning, it will match the pattern in the end.
Yeah.
It's there. It's not an infinite string of patterns. It's a limited, finite set of patterns that just keep duplicating.
It's like 5 thoughts. It really
Yeah,
is
you recognize it,
for me.
especially through the inventory. You start seeing it, and then you'll now, when you see it in the inventory, you'll start seeing it in the the actual events.
I need to
And
do
I'm
the
a real
inventory.
believer in catching shit coming right out of the oven if you can.
Yeah.
Because if it's been out for a week, it's something, it's something else probably. So yeah, and that's
Thank
why
you.
I love step 6 and 7.
I need to do the inventory.
No, you don't. Just do it.
Okay. You just said, okay, never mind. I
Yeah,
want to give someone else
say
a chance to,
but just do it. The need doesn't have to jump in there.
okay, I will do the inventory.
Yeah, check it out. 5 minutes.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
My resentment, 40 years. This too shall pass. I mean, that's not an anomaly. That's the pattern.
What?
My resentment is heavy. Resentment is lighter.
Yeah.
That's the pattern. They don't
Yeah.
switch seats.
Yeah.
My resentment doesn't become lighter. And resentment
Yeah.
doesn't become heavier. My
Yeah.
resentment is
It's
pretty
the
much
my.
sure to be heavier than resentment.
It's like my
Just
$5 and $5 are both $5.
Exactly. But the meaning is totally different.
Yeah.
And we travel subjectively.
Yeah.
We travel based on meaning. Most of us,
Yeah.
yes?
That's actually amazing when you realize that nothing has any meaning except what we give it.
Exactly. So knowing that, do you want it to be self that gives it the meaning? You've had enough of that, haven't you? I swear. You think
I
it's gonna
absolutely have,
change?
but I still wonder where meaning comes from without that, because it's so,
Don't worry about that. Just see
okay.
that, and hey, yeah.
I can find meaning in chocolate, maybe.
It just don't meander in there. Just get to the point and then see what happens. You'll travel.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, Paul.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. That's my humble suggestion. Yeah. Why? Why not? Wait a minute. Why? Why not? Well, because it's me. Who's this me? Me. Who's this me? You won't find anyone there. That's who you are. You're just fucking brilliant space, let's say.
Yeah, with everything. in it.
What? Yeah. Remember, the people have an idea of freedom, which is I get to do everything I want. Really, freedom to me is doing what you don't want to do. You know, you're
Yeah,
free to do what you don't want to do.
you don't have to do what you want.
Yeah, because it doesn't, you've learned getting what you want all the time isn't really usually that good. Yeah, so
No, it
basically,
isn't.
yeah, you come to your senses, hopefully, and you learn to, that you can deal with life successfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you do that? Yeah. Well, I think it's good to see what you're not. And there's a difference between living and an interpretation of living. There is. Yeah.
Mm.
You can live with an interpretation, but if you live as an interpretation, you're missing living. But you can live with an interpretation because living is the basis. But if you're living an interpretation obsessively, you're not, the living is neutered. Yes.
Yeah.
But you can live with an interpretation. You're going to
Yeah.
get a narrative. But if the narrative is all you get, yeah, this is the subtlety of the relief. Is the narrative continues, but you have a predominant sense of living first.
Mhm.
Yeah, instead of having the living denied and just living an interpretation or a narrative.
Yeah, like the narrative is smaller and it's like inside me as opposed to me being inside it.
Yes, exactly. So, and we can't cause that downsizing. Self can't get out of self. So you have to recognize, because most people, they recognize something, but they don't recognize what keeps that something going. So they try to get out of self as self. And then hopefully that has failed them. And now they've recognized the two aspects, recognition and then recognition. And now there's a relief there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going into seminars all day trying to convince self not to do something at work. I've just lost interest in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when it says big news of the day, I don't tune in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it's big news.
We're out of milk. It's a disaster.
You know what I mean?
The store is only open another half hour.
It's just so therefore you lose interest really. And of course, when here this is a dualistic expression, yeah. So when you lose interest in something, you gain interest in other. Yeah, it's not just a losing interest. The losing interest is on the other side of the coin is a gaining interest. So you lose interest in self, and then you gain interest in what you can contribute to life. They explain it in the book. That's a principle here. Yeah. This is a dualistic event. So when you lose interest in something, you gain interest in something else. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So the interest is the same. What it's going to trigger is based on what it's in or out of. Yeah. See, there's interest in one thing and there's interest in the other thing. The two things can be completely different, but the interest is the same. So the interest is the key. Yeah. So you lose interest in self and you gain interest in what? Living, let's say. Yeah. And and for some of us, I have great confidence that you'll find it much more rewarding. You will.
No, I already have actually.
You'll find life much more and no matter how small or whatever your life is, it will be quite rewarding.
Yeah, because you're so
much
more
to be living,
Yeah, it's like instead of having your whole life be like taking care of a 2-year-old baby, 24/7, now you've got the whole rest of the world and other people's interests and needs, and it makes you bigger.
Yeah. It's like, coming out of the S of self. It's nice.
I want to let someone else have a chance, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't want to monopolize you.
You didn't monopolize anything.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody have a question for Paul today or a comment that they'd like to make? Please feel free to use the raise hand feature.
We can say goodbye.
Or we can say goodbye.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, whatever you'd like to do.
First, if you're interested, we'll be here again today at 4:30 Pacific time. You can get into that Zoom through the website under Zen Bit Slap events. Yeah. So if you want another pounding, another beating, come on. Yeah. Yeah. Want to go 16 rounds? Let's go 16 rounds. Yeah. You're already knocked out to begin with. That's the good news. Yeah. All right. So Mike, nice. Thank you for all your service, bro.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to sit down and read the book that people made on the retreat. Very nice. The pictures and everything. Kerry, nice to be, you were a big part of that. It was very nice. Yeah. You know that relief you get when they talk about you're in the lifeboat and the ship has gone down. And then there's a great camaraderie in the joy of living also. That comes, yeah, that's on the plate also. That's on the menu. I feel like we really had a lot of that when we were in Italy together as a group. Yeah. The group produced a lot of incredible effects. Very, very nice. Or actually, was used to produce effect. So Jack G, nice to see you, Jack. You're getting thinner. You're looking yeah.
Nice to see you, Paul.
You're ready for outdoor magazines. Yes, there you go.
Nice to see you.
Marlin fishing off the coast of Maine. There's no marlin off of Maine though, but whatever. All right, thank you, bro. We got Ted. Ted is a good old friend of mine. Yeah. Yeah, nice to see you, Ted. Yeah. Tom in Waldron, whatever. Nice to see you, Tom. Alex, as always, feeling better physically. Yeah, great, great. We got Samuel J. Nice to see you, Samuel. Always a pleasure. Your little laughing face. It's good. Yeah. Joseph, as always, somewhere in France. That's all I know. We got Gail. Oh, Gail, now the hair's gone all the way. Yeah. That was cool. It was like watching a flower, sort of the bud and then the boom. Yeah, very cool. Thank you for allowing that presentation to occur over these few weeks. Yeah. We got Virginia H. Nice to see you. I think Virginia's been here before. Yes. Yeah. Nice to see you, Virginia. We got Carrie from Savannah. Carl. Nice to see you, Carl. I haven't seen you so much. It's great to have a temporary dosh on of Carl. Sri Carl. Nice to see you. We got Kathy L. Is this Kathy? Yes, Kathy L. Nice to see you. Bill Churchman and Kathleen. Very nice to see the two. I had the pleasure of meeting them live in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Nina, as always, she was with us there.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for the knockout punch. I always need a good hit to the head.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I find no pleasure in it. Just a little spiritual, like sadism. Not bad. So we got Richie W. Nice to see you, Richie, from Mexico. Hey, Annette from the Pennsylvania area. I met Annette in Doylestown also. We'll be going back to Doylestown, I hope, if I'm alive or anything in the spring. We'll probably show up there. We've got Al from Vegas. I've heard that he's from Long Beach, Long Island. Wow. I spent a lot of time in Long Beach. Deborah, always nice to see you. Unknown user, that's the way to go. I'm an unknown user. Annette, Oh, Annette's always, oh, yes, yeah. Kathleen, I said hello already. Bruce, Lucas, Eligio, King Baby, Senna, Oliver, Miranda, Roman, there he is. We've survived, Roman, seemingly, yes. That's awesome. Let's see if I didn't get everybody. I
Is
think
Kathy L new?
Hmm?
Kathy L, are you new?
Yes, I'm new. I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Oh, Kathy. Well,
Thank you. Welcome.
see you, Kathy. Yeah. Hopefully I'll see you again. We're here Tuesdays and Thursdays for recovery. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Hope you have a great day. And some of you, I hope to see at 4:30 Pacific time. And if not, I'll see you soon. Adios.
Thanks, Paul.